Somewhere between about 20 employees and 200 employees, a lot of companies hit the same wall. The IT person says, "Security is not really my thing." A customer sends a 200 question security questionnaire. The cyber insurance renewal asks about MFA, backups, incident response, and endpoint protection, logging, and vendor risk. Then someone in leadership asks the big question: do we need to hire a CISO? Usually, the honest answer is probably not a full time one. I say that as someone who has been a CISO and who now runs a vCISO firm. Full disclosure up front, I run vCISO Group, which provides virtual CISO services. So discount my bias accordingly. But this is not a pitch for why you should hire me. By the end, I want you to know what a CISO actually does, when a company is big enough to need security leadership, how the vCISO model works, what it costs, and how to spot a good one, a bad one, or a situation where you should not hire one at all. Use this to hire anyone. Use it to hire one of my competitors. Use it to decide you do not need anybody yet. Because the worst version of this industry is fear based selling. Hire us or you will be breached. Buy this tool or your company is doomed. That is not strategy, that is anxiety with an invoice attached. So let's start with the job itself. A CISO is not just the best technical person in the room. A good CISO translates security risk into business decisions. That's the whole job. They help answer questions like, what should we fix first? What can wait? What will block a deal? What will make an auditor, insurer, investor, or enterprise customer nervous? And what level of risk is the business willing to accept? That last question matters because security people do not get to eliminate all risk. No one does. The job is to make risk visible enough that leadership can make a real decision. Here's the simple version. Your IT person keeps systems running. Your CISO helps decide which security risks are acceptable. Those are related jobs, but they are not the same job. And asking one person to do both, especially in a smaller company, is how things get missed. That is not a knock on IT. A lot of IT people are already carrying too much: laptops, email, identity, backups, vendors, onboarding, offboarding, cloud apps, and the conference room camera that only works when it feels like it. Then security gets dropped on top. Build our security program. Prepare us for SOC 2. Answer questionnaires. Brief leadership. Review vendor risk. Write incident response plans. That is not one job anymore. So the CISO function is this: turn the messy pile of security concerns into priorities, trade offs, and ownership. That is the bridge from technical noise to business judgment. And once you understand that, the vCISO model starts to make sense. A CISO usually does five things. First, they create a security roadmap. That means the top risks, what gets fixed this quarter, what waits, and what the business is choosing not to do yet. Second, they help with customer trust. Security questionnaires feel like paperwork, but they are really sales blockers. A good CISO helps you answer honestly without overpromising. Third, they turn compliance into a plan. SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, CMMC, PCI, whatever applies to your business. Compliance is not the same as security, but it often gets leadership to care. Fourth, they lead incidents. Not always by clicking every button themselves. The bigger value is decision making under pressure. Who gets called? What gets preserved? Whether counsel is involved? How the company stays calm? Fifth, they report upward. Leadership does not need a 37 tab spreadsheet of vulnerabilities. They need risk in business language. What could hurt us? What are we doing about it? What does it cost? What risk are we accepting? That is what separates a security leadership from security activity. Activity is a pile of tickets, alerts, policies, tools, meetings, and screenshots. Leadership is deciding what matters now. And that leads to the next question. If the function is valuable, why not just hire a full-time CISO? vCISO stands for Virtual Chief Information Security Officer. You may also hear fractional CISO. The idea is simple. You get the judgment of a security executive without hiring a full-time executive. Instead of adding a full-time headcount, you buy a slice of time. That might be a few hours a month for advisory help, or it might be deeper engagement where the vCISO leads the security program, meets with leadership, coordinates with IT, helps with audits, and drives a roadmap. The model exists because many smaller companies have a real security leadership problem, but not a full-time CISO problem. If you are a 50-person SaaS company, You may need someone who knows how to build a program, talk to enterprise buyers, handle SOC 2, and make risk decisions. But you probably do not have 40 hours a week of true CISO level work. A full-time CISO is expensive. In the US, once you include salary, bonus, benefits, recruiting, and sometimes equity, a serious full-time security executive can easily become a $250,000 plus hire, and often much more depending on the company size and industry. Also, the really good ones may not want the job if the company is too small. Not because the company is bad, because the role is not there yet. Hired too early, and they either get bored and leave, or they end up doing work that should have been handled by an IT manager, security engineer, compliance manager, or outside specialist. That is an expensive mismatch. Here's the twist that saves companies money. Sometimes hiring a vCISO is not the mature move. Sometimes not hiring one is the mature move. A vCISO is meant to fit the middle stage. You're too mature to wing it, but you're not mature enough to justify a full-time executive. So you rent the judgment before you buy the role. Real-world pricing varies because vCISO can mean anything from a light advisory retainer to a hands-on security leadership engagement. But for many small and mid-sized companies, a useful planning range is roughly $3,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on scope, urgency, compliance pressure, meeting cadence, and how much execution is included. Cheap is not always bad. Expensive is not always good. The question is, what are you actually getting? Are you getting an experienced security leader who will understand your business and make decisions? Or are you getting a junior analyst with a checklist and a senior person's name on the proposal? Those are very different things. Companies usually start looking after one of 5 triggers: enterprise customer pressure, compliance, an incident or near miss, cyber insurance friction, or fundraising and diligence. If a security review becomes the hardest part of closing a deal, if someone says, we need SOC 2, if a compromised mailbox exposes that nobody knows the response plan, or if the insurance form suddenly feels like an exam, that is the sign the security program needs leadership. But that still does not mean every company needs one right now. If you're under about 15 people, you do not handle sensitive data, you do not have compliance pressure, and customers are not asking hard security questions, you probably do not need a vCISO yet. You probably need to do the basics: multi-factor authentication, a password manager, patching, backups, no shared admin accounts, simple offboarding, and a basic incident response plan. That is not glamorous, but it is most of the early value. If you have not done the basics, a vCISO may simply charge you money to tell you to do the basics. Sometimes that outside pressure is useful, but do not confuse "we need judgment" with "we need someone to remind us to turn on the MFA." Do the obvious stuff first, then hire judgment when the decisions become harder. You may also not need a vCISO if you're looking for hands-on technical implementation only. If the real problem is we need someone to configure endpoint detection, clean up Microsoft 365, deploy logging, or run vulnerability scans, you may need an engineer, an MSP, an MSSP, or a specialist project. A vCISO can help decide what should be done and in what order, but they are not always the person who should be clicking the buttons. And be cautious if someone is selling fear. If the sales motion is "you will be breached without us," walk away. Security should be serious, but serious is different from theatrical. Great security leaders subtract. They help you focus on what matters at your size, what can wait, and what is not worth buying yet. So how do you hire one if you're actually ready? Here are the questions I would ask. Question 1. Show me a security program you've built and tell me what changed in year 1. Good people can talk in outcomes: faster customer reviews, better audit readiness, clear incident response, leadership finally understanding the top risks. Question 2. What would you not fix at our size? Bad consultants want every problem to be urgent. Great consultants can tell you what to ignore for now. Question 3. Who actually does the work? Are you getting the person who sold the engagement, a named senior advisor, or a rotating analyst pool? Who joins leadership meetings? Who answers customer questionnaires? Who gets called during an incident? Question 4. What is your incident experience? Ask them about the 3 a.m. call. You want someone who can stay calm when the room gets loud. Question 5. How do you make money besides the retainer? Tool commissions, resale margins, and partner incentives do not automatically make someone bad, but they should be disclosed. You want to know whether the recommendation is strategy or inventory. Now the red flags. A 12-month lock-in before they have earned trust. A proposal that is mostly tool resale. A compliance template mill. No clear executive experience. No clear incident experience. No willingness to say what you should not do. And too much certainty too early. If someone knows exactly what you need after a 15-minute sales call, be skeptical. A real security program depends on your business, your data, your customers, your systems, your people, and your risk tolerance. There are patterns, but there should still be discovery. So here is your action list. Score yourself on the 5 triggers: enterprise customer pressure, compliance pressure, a recent incident or near miss, cyber insurance friction, and fundraising or diligence. If you have 0, do the basics and revisit this later. If you have 1, you may need targeted help. If you have 2 or more, get 2 or 3 quotes and compare how they think, not just what they charge. Because you are not buying a title, you are buying judgment. The best outcome is not, we hired a vCISO. The best outcome is, we know what risks matter, we know what we are doing about them, customers trust our answers, leadership understands the trade-offs, and security is no longer living in someone's spare time. That is what a vCISO is supposed to do. Not scare you, not bury you in frameworks, not sell you 12 tools. Help the business make better security decisions before the stakes get painfully obvious. If you want my version of this, you can find it at viso.group. But honestly, watch videos 1 through 9 first. The free stuff is most of the value for a lot of companies. And if you are comparing options, use these questions. Use them on me. Use them on everyone. Next, watch the breakdown of MSSP versus vCISO, because those get mixed up constantly, and they solve very different problems. For now, start with the basics, score your triggers, and do not let anyone turn security into a fog machine. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.